Hello, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
My screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Today the internet signal is very weak. I have my phone with me. You please ring me if I get disconnected. Okay. Okay. Or if my voice is not clearly audible, please tell me. Now today we have actually covered the short, medium, and long transmission lines. Today we'll discuss about some other phenomena of transmission lines. That means the current and voltage, that is the current that is flowing in the transmission line, or the voltage signal that is which is developed across the transmission line. These can be treated as traveling waves, because under transient condition, if we consider lumped parameters, then it is not possible to exactly define the characteristics or behavior of the current and voltage signal. So those current and voltage signals are described uh, by considering them as traveling waves. So what is traveling waves? As the name states, that traveling waves means it is just the signals act just like a wave, and they take some time to reach from one end to the other end or the farthest end. Okay, that means they take some traveling time. Why? Because mainly long transmission lines will be considered here. See, long transmission lines can be defined like this. Okay. And of course, we are considering lossless transmission lines. That means resistance is neglected. For transient study, mainly their resistances are neglected. And capacitors and inductances are considered. So, let us consider that the voltage signal is on the source side, and it is connected in the line with the help of a switch, and the load is at the farthest end. So when the switch is closed, immediately there will be no current flowing in the inductor, because it acts as open circuit. You know that. Some time to reach the current to the final value. So unless the current flows through the inductor, this capacitor cannot be charged. It remains short circuited. And if it cannot be charged, then no current will flow in the next section. So it is a gradual process. It takes some time, though it cannot be recorded by human being nor by normal inspection, but because the time is very, very small. Actually, the velocity of this traveling wave, we'll see today, it is the velocity of the light. So immediately it appears to us, immediately the switch is closed, the voltage and current starts flowing through the load. So actually this is not the case. So gradual development or gradual flow of current will be there. So you can easily describe this one. Just when the switch is closed, this is acts as open circuit instantaneously. So some time will be taken for the flow of current through this inductance, and after that this voltage will also take some time to develop across this capacitor. So when the capacitor is charged, the current flows to the in next section like that. So you can understand. So it is a voltage development and current flow from the source end to the load end. It is a gradual process. It does not occur instantaneously. So this is actually the main consideration for traveling waves. Okay. So this part is actually described in the next section. You can easily study this one, and will easily understand this part. So let us move to the equations, how the equations are developed. Okay. Now see, suppose the wave after time t has traveled through a distance x. I have told that traveling waves or the voltage and current signal, they are treated as waves, and it takes some time to reach the farthest end or the receiving end. So let us consider that after time it takes t time to travel through a distance of x. So we assume lossless line. Now we consider a distance dx, which is traveled by the waves in time dt. Now electrostatic flux is associated with the voltage wave, and electromagnetic flux with the current wave. So the electrostatic flux is equal to the charge between the conductors of the line, and it can be defined by this equation: Q equal to VCX, YCX, C is actually considered the capacitance per unit length. Seen in all transmission lines, all the parameters are considered in per unit length. So total capacitance will be Cx if the distance, total distance is x. Okay, so Q equal to VCX, and we know that the current is rate of flow of charge. So I equal to dq dt. So from there we get VC, I equal to VC dx. Okay. Now next we know that the now so what is I equal to VC and what is dx dt? X is the distance, t is the time. So this is the rate of change of distance. So this is actually the velocity. So we can say that I equal to capital V C small v. Small v is the velocity of the wave. Now next we consider the electromagnetic flux. This is about the electrostatic flux. Now electromagnetic flux linkage phi equal to, we know that it is ILX. Similarly, L is the inductance per unit distance. So what is V? V is actually this d psi dt. You know V equal to d psi dt. Psi is the flux linkage. So it will be IL dx dt. Again V is becoming ILV. So actually you are getting two equations. First equation I equal to VC small v, and this is capital V equal to IL small v. Okay. Now I think I am clearly audible. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now from these two equations, what we will get? We just divide V by I. If we divide V by I, we will get in this side IL small v by VC small v. So this small v cancels. So it is becoming IL by VC. Okay, so you can easily understand, if you take V on this side, I on this side, then it will become V square by I square equal to L by C. Okay, so we are getting V square by I square equal to L by C, or V by I equal to root over LC, root over L by C. And you know what is the root over L by C called? It is called the characteristic impedance of the line, or the surge impedance of the line. You are already familiar with the term surge impedance. We'll discuss about surge impedance today only in detail. So this is the natural impedance or the surge impedance. It is actually V by I. Okay. It has, remember, it has nothing to do with the load connected in the line. It is dependent on the capacitance and inductance per unit length of the line. Okay. Now, so just we divided V by I. Now we will multiply V and I. If we multiply V and I on this side, what we will get? We will get VI on the left hand side. Right hand side, we will get VI CL small v square, isn't it? So VI CL small v square will get, and this VI and VI will cancel out from these two sides. So we will get LC V square equal to 1. So V square will be 1 by LC. So V equal to root 1 by root over LC. This is actually the equation for the velocity of the traveling wave. See, you have got small v equal to 1 by root LC. What is L? L is the per unit inductance of the line, and we have derived in the first class the per unit inductance of the line. What is that? That is equal to 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 ln d by r, Henry per meter. Remember, and see what is the equation for C? 2 pi epsilon ln d by r. Though these are very hazy, but I think you will be able to read. And remember, you have to prepare notes. Just studying from this one, it will be difficult for you. Okay, just when you attended, you used to attend the classes, used to take class notes. So from here also, you make your own notes. Okay. So L equal to 2 into the minus 7 ln d by r, and C equal to 2 pi epsilon ln d by r. So if you substitute these values in place of L and C, see this this will get cancelled, isn't it? This ln d by r is getting cancelled because here numerator ln d by r is here, in the denominator you are having ln d by r. So these two are getting cancelled. So what you are getting? Actually, V is only, you are getting 1 by root over 4 pi epsilon into 10 to the power minus 7. Okay. So you see the velocity of light is independent of the distance between the conductors or the radius of the conductor. Actually, here you will have r dash, not r. So make these corrections. In many books, it is only written r, but this is wrong. This is r dash. So anyway, R dash can be considered approximately equal to R, and this can be cancelled. Okay. So velocity of light, we are getting a constant value 1 by root over 4 pi epsilon 10 to the power minus 7. If we put the value of epsilon, because in overhead transmission line the medium is air, you put the value of epsilon and you know the value of epsilon, just you will get V equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So velocity of the traveling waves we have already derived as 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. This is equal to the velocity of the light. Now, due to the resistance and leakage reactance of the line, the velocity is slightly less. Approximately, it is considered 250 meter per microsecond is assumed, or just 2.5 into 10 to the power 8 meters per second. Okay, slightly less than this value. But in the examination, if you are required to apply this value and the value is not given, you can assume 3 into 10 to the power 8. Okay. Or you will assume 3 into 10 to the power 8. Now, so these are written here. So now this is for overhead lines. Okay. Now what will be the value for underground cables? Will that value be less or more? Velocity will be less or more? Depending on this one, the velocity will be less or more. See, for underground cables, this the medium is not air, so this epsilon will have some value. The permittivity will have some value. So if we consider some value of permittivity of this one, that means relative permittivity we have to consider greater than 1. So what will be the value? You will find that the velocity will be less because this epsilon will be more and it is in the denominator. Okay, for underground cables. So the velocity for the traveling waves in underground cables is less than the velocity of light or less than the traveling waves in the overhead lines. This is written here. Okay. Now this is all about the traveling waves. Now we will discuss about the surge impedance loading. Okay. Now surge impedance loading is called SIL. What is SIL? Surge impedance you have already studied. Surge impedance is actually that value root over L by C, natural impedance of the line. Now, when the transmission line is loaded, that means the load is connected at the end of the transmission line, and the value of the load is such that its value is equal to the natural impedance of the line. Then it is called surge impedance loading. Okay. So surge impedance loading of a transmission line is the power loading of a line when the line is lossless. Okay. We'll discuss why it is called lossless. You will be able to understand after you go into details of this one. Now, actually, surge impedance loading can be it has been expressed in several ways. One way of expressing surge impedance loading is let me see. 1 minute. So many definitions are given. Okay, you see this one. If a purely resistive load that is equal to the surge impedance were connected to the end of the line, a voltage surge introduced at the sending of the line would be absorbed completely at the receiving end. Actually, surge impedance loading of the line, it is given here. As load which inductive and capacitive volt amperes are equal and opposite is called surge impedance load or natural load of the line. This is one definition. Another definition, a lossless line operating at nominal voltage terminating in its surge impedance is said to be surge impedance loaded. So actually, I'm describing what does these mean. Actually, the surge impedance, the surge impedance is having the value root over L by C. Now, if you connect the resistance as a load, and the value of that resistance is equal to root over L by C, that is magnitude of that resistance is equal to root L by C, where L and C are the inductance and charging capacitance of the line, okay, in per unit, then it is called surge impedance loaded. Again, I am reading what you may see. SIL actually is the loading, surge impedance loading. When it is called SIL, surge impedance loading is actually that loading when the load connected in the transmission line is purely resistive and its magnitude is equal to root over L by C. Okay, this is actually called SIL or surge impedance loading. Somewhere it is written here. So you have to describe this one by this. Now let us go to the beginning. So when the line is lossless, why it is called lossless? You will find that whenever the load connected is purely resistive and is value equal to root over L by C, then you will find throughout the whole length of the line, the amount of reactive power generated will be equal to the amount of reactive power absorbed. Okay, it is written here. If you read this one, you will find that if reactive power generated is equal to reactive power absorbed, reactive power is generated by whom? Reactive power absorbed will be by the inductor. So if that means the net reactive power becomes zero, what is generated is getting consumed. So if the net reactive power is zero, you can easily understand that power factor of the system is always 1. That means always the current is in phase with the voltage. Okay. So it is actually the ideal loading of the line. That means now why ideal loading? Because current is always in phase of the voltage, power factor is 1. And also as we have considered lossless line, because the load is also acting, is not contributing to any loss in the line. And it is called ideal loading because if you see this graph, you will find, say, Vs is the sending end voltage. Now, normally what happens under full load, this receiving end voltage is decreases. It is never the same as the sending end voltage. Actually, we insert capacitances or capacitor banks to increase the voltage. Under normal condition, under natural condition, the receiving end voltage will have some value than the sending end voltage. But under surge impedance loading, the voltage at the receiving end is exactly same at the sending end because the reactive power generated is same as reactive power absorbed. And under, if the load is more than SIL, SIL is the ideal loading. If the load is more than SIL, we'll have the curve like this. Voltage will be less than the receiving end voltage will be less than the sending end voltage. And if the load is less than SIL, we'll find in long transmission lines, we'll find that the receiving end voltage is more than the sending end voltage. What happens? Unloaded long transmission lines, the power generated, the reactive power generated by charging capacitors are more than the reactive power absorbed by the inductors. So this SIL is called ideal loading. Okay. So and some other things about the SIL. See here why it is called SIL. The amount of MVR produced is dependent on the transmission line's capacitive reactance. Okay, so amount of MVR is actually V square by XC. Okay, and amount of absorbed is actually through the inductor. It is I square into XL because it is the electromagnetic energy. Okay, so under the condition of if surge impedance loading, this MVR should be equal to this MVR. So I square XL will be, you can write here, they have written here kV. You can also write it V square by XC and you can write it as VAR. So this I square XL will be equal to V square by XC. So if we write this one, then what will happen? This XL XC is V square by I square, and we know that the XL XC is actually L by C. If we put omega, it will be L by C. So V by I equal to root over of L by C. So we can derive at the same equation, considering that reactive power generated is actually the reactive power consumed. Okay. So this derivation is shown here. Next, I think I have already, what is SIL? SIL is actually, it is generally defined in megawatts, and so it is line voltage in kV square by surge impedance. Surge impedance is root over L by C. Now, I discussed just now by showing that curve, it is discussed here. If the load is greater than SIL, reactive volt amperes are absorbed and receiving end voltage is less than the sending end voltage. So there appears the compensation requirements. We compensate with the help of capacitor banks and other things so that the voltage is raised. Now, surge impedance loading in many respects is the ideal loading. Not only the reactive power generated is equal to the reactive power consumed, but the voltage and current profiles are uniform along the length of the line. The uniform or flat voltage profile. It is called flat voltage profile because it is just straight line. Receiving a VR and VS are same. The flat voltage profile is especially desirable since voltage can be held near the maximum value. And the voltages and currents are also in phase at every point in the line, because at every point in the line, as capacitor and inductors are distributed, so at every point in the line, reactive power consumed is reactive power generated. Okay. But long lines cannot be loaded much above the uncompensated surge impedance loading. So surge impedance loading is actually the measure of how much load can a transmission line, how much load a transmission line can withstand. It should not, first the surge impedance for the line is calculated, and the line should not be loaded much above that value. Uncompensated means under natural condition. Okay. So these things I have already discussed. No need of discussing it. Just go through it, and here there is actually four. It will be four loads much higher than seal shunt capacitors needed to minimize the drop along the line. You can understand, for loads much above the seal, that means voltage will decrease. So shunt capacitors are required to minimize the voltage drop or increase the receiving end voltage. On the other hand, for light load conditions, that is load much lesser than seal, shunt inductors may be needed to compensate the line charging current. So here the voltage will increase, so shunt inductors are installed under light load conditions or under no load condition. Okay, so this much, is it clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. You'll find in any book, you'll find this about seal, and you'll very often you get some short note or seal, and obvious question you will get from this seal. Okay. Now let's start. Wavelength and velocity of propagation. Velocity of propagation, you have studied. Velocity of propagation, we have seen that it is small v, and its value is, for over a transmission line, it is the velocity of the light. Now, what is the wavelength? Wavelength, you know, the wavelength is actually the distance traveled or the distance in which the voltage or current undergoes a phase shift of 2 pi radian. See, here the definition is written, the particular value of the length of the line for which the voltage or current undergoes a phase shift of 2 pi radians is called wavelength. So what is wavelength? Wavelength is actually that particular length. Okay. Within that particular length, the voltage and current will get a shift of 2 pi radian. Okay. Let me discuss this one after discussing another topic. Then it will be easier for you to understand. Okay. Let me discuss this propagation constant first. Then we will discuss that one. Now, what is propagation constant? I think propagation constant we have already discussed in the long transmission line, because we have seen this term e to the power gamma x, isn't it? Because h gamma x, sin is gamma x, e to the power gamma x, e to the power minus gamma x. We have seen that equation of long transmission lines, considering distributed parameters, the equations are in form of these exponential terms or hyperbolic. Now, gamma, if you remember, we have already discussed that gamma has two parts. One is alpha, another is beta. So, gamma is written as alpha plus j beta. Okay. So, it has two parts. That means alpha part, real part, and beta part, the imaginary part. Now, what is the significance of this? To the power alpha x is real. It increases exponentially at the rate of to the power alpha per unit length of the line. That means whenever this operator e to the power alpha x is added, then this operator actually, it signifies the increase in magnitude of that signal by e to the power gamma x. Okay, exponential increase. Another part e to the power j beta x. It can be written as cos beta x plus j sin beta x. And this e to the power j beta x, it has magnitude always 1. But for every value of x, it has an angle which increases with x. It is associated with the angle. Okay. Now, more clarification is given here. For actually, this means for unit distance along the line, the angle changes by beta radians. What does this signify? This signifies that for unit distance or for unit distance, if for unit distance of the traveling wave, the angle is traveling wave unit distance travel of voltage wave or current wave, the and change of angle is beta radian. Okay, so say the traveling wave is the voltage wave is traveling from the sending end to the receiving end. So when it travels unit distance, then its phase gets shifted by beta radian. Okay, so if it is a j beta, it means its phase will be shifted by plus beta, and if it is minus j beta, its phase will be shifted by minus j beta. Okay. Now, so it is thus observed that the exponential factor e to the, now what about e to the power alpha is, it is not, it has no significance with the angle. So e to the power alpha x when operated upon a phasor quantity will change its magnitude at the rate of e to the power alpha per unit length. Okay. So when e to the power alpha x is operated, it actually changes the magnitude at e to the power alpha per unit. So actually, when both these are operated, what does this signify? This signifies that a traveling wave, maybe voltage or current wave, when it traverses a distance of unit length, its magnitude gets increased by e to the power alpha and its phase is getting shifted by beta radian. Okay. So this is again written here. E to the power, the second exponential factor e to the power j beta x when operated upon a phasor quantity will keep its magnitude constant but will change its phase by beta radian per unit length. Okay. So the factor e to the power alpha x is considered as magnitude operator and the factor e to the power j beta x is considered as a rotational operator. Okay. Thus, if a phasor is operated by a factor e to the power gamma x, both magnitude and phase of the phasor will be changed. As we proceed from the receiving to the sending end, actually, we remember we have considered this distance x from the receiving end only, not from the sending end. Okay. So, x, we will consider that the traveling wave is traveling from the receiving end to the sending end. So, if it travels from the receiving end to the sending end, what happens? The voltage component increases exponentially at the rate of e to the power alpha per unit length, and the phase is advanced by angle beta radian by per unit length. So, you can understand, if we travel from receiving end to the sending end, there is the voltage, it increases by e to the power alpha and phase is shifted by beta radian. Okay. And so the reverse thing will happen. If we shift from the sending to the receiving end, we'll find that the magnitude decreases by e to the power alpha x and the phase is shifted by minus beta radian. Okay. So this is actually written at the top. As we move from the sending end to the receiving end, the component of voltage decreases in magnitude and retards in phase. If we move from receiving to sending end, the voltage magnitude increases. So from sending end to receiving end, voltage magnitude increases. So this is actually the characteristic of the incident wave, isn't it? We have seen the incident wave, reflected wave. So for incident wave, it is written as e to the power gamma x. So e to the power gamma x means when we move from the receiving end to the sending end, voltage magnitude increases. So this is true because at the sending end, the incident voltage is more. And if we consider the reflected wave, its magnitude is maximum at the receiving end, isn't it? And it is given by e to the power minus gamma x. So its case will be just opposite. So this is actually the propagation constant. You have to read it thoroughly and understand the concept of this propagation constant. If For that, you have to remember the equation for the voltage and current wave in the transmission. Now, we will come to that part. Remember what we have defined as beta. We have defined beta as the change of the angle in radian per unit length of travel of the wave. Okay. Now, what is the wavelength? Now, wavelength we have defined is actually the length of the line for which the phase shift is 2 pi radian. Okay. Now we know that we have seen from the propagation constant that for unit distance, the phase shift is beta radian. Or in the reverse way, we can say that beta radian is a phase shift for unit distance travel. So 2 pi radian will be the phase shift for how much? 2 pi by beta distance, isn't it? Again, I'm repeating the from this part you have seen that what is definition of beta? Beta is actually the change in angle in radian for unit distance travel. Okay, so beta is the change of angle for unit distance travel. So what will be the if 2 pi is the change of angle, what will be the distance of travel? It will be beta 2 pi by beta. Okay, so from the definition it comes that lambda equal to 2 pi by beta. Okay, for unit distance, for beta is the phase shift for unit distance, so 2 pi is the phase shift for 2 pi by beta distance. So lambda equal to 2 pi by beta. So this is the relation between the wavelength and this beta. What is beta called? Beta is called the phase constant of the line. It is written in the next slide. So it is called the phase constant of the line. So you have to remember this relation because you will get small problems on these equations. Now, what is the relation between this velocity of propagation and lambda? So you can easily understand lambda is the for this one cycle. 2 pi actually denotes one cycle. Okay, in one cycle, this actually is the phase shift of 2 pi. So there are 50 cycles, or if f is the frequency, what is the velocity of propagation? It is just lambda into f, because f is the number of cycles in 1 second. Okay, so if we multiply f by lambda, we'll get the distance traveled in 1 second. Okay, so Vp is equal to lambda f. Because these are from general knowledge, you can easily understand. If you know what is frequency, it is the number of cycles in 1 second. If you know what is lambda, lambda is the distance traveled, one cycle actually means 2 pi radian, then you can easily find out Vp equal to, Vp is actually V. V is actually equal to lambda f. So f is written, lambda is written as 2 pi by beta. So 2 pi f is again omega. You can easily write this equation. So you have to remember these equations. So the velocity of, now the velocity of propagation is 3 into 10 to the power 8. So lambda, what is the wavelength from overhead remember we're discussing overhead transmission lines. For overhead transmission lines only this value is 2. So lambda f is actually equal to this 3 into 10 to the power 8. So what is lambda? Lambda is this one, or 6,000 kilometers. Okay. So it is a very large distance. In practice, the length of transmission line is only a fraction of the wavelength, because if we use a transmission of this much length, there will be phase shift of the voltage and current wave of 2 pi at the receiving end from the sending end. So in practice, transmission line is only a fraction of this one. But this distance transmission line is, but they are broken up into several distances. All the compensation devices are introduced so that we get some logical values of voltages and currents. Okay. So this lambda value is this one, 6,000 kilometers for overhead transmission lines. Now let us find some problems on these, what we have discussed now. I think I'm audible and clearly visible. Also the slide is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now, you will get just typical problems on these types. You can practice from book also. Only 2 or 3 problems are shown here. A 3-phase transmission line of 60 hertz, okay, and 500 kV. L is given 0.97, C is given 0.0155. You have to determine beta, phase constant, surge impedance, velocity of propagation, line wavelength, lambda. Okay. Now for lossless line, as L and C are given, you need not consider R. So it is considered a lossless line. Now the actual definition of gamma is actually YZ, root over YZ. If you go to the last note, you'll find it is root over YZ. Y is j omega C and Z is j omega L. This is shunt admittance. This is series impedance. So you will get simply j omega root over LC. Actually, gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta. Alpha part is absent as it is lossless line. So it can be easily written beta equal to root over LC for lossless line. So beta equal to omega root over LC. So omega is given, L value is given, C value is given. So you substitute these values in Henry and Farad and you will get it in radian. You first find out if they are given in per kilometer, then you will get the answer in kilometer. They are given in per kilometer. So you will get the radian per kilometer. Otherwise, you will get radian per meter. Now next, what is the surge impedance? Surge impedance, you know, it is root over L by C. Simply put the value of L and C. So you will get this much of volts, ohms. And velocity of propagation, you know, 1 by root LC. You have to calculate. You cannot try 3 into 10 to the power 8 directly. So this is written in kilometers. So actually 2.99 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Lambda, you can use that value. V by F, we have derived the value for V by F here. So lambda is actually equal to this V by, lambda is actually equal to V by F. So you can easily substitute that value and find out what is lambda. Now the next part of the problem, it is the sending and receiving end load is given and the voltage is given. So you can easily find out the current and you have to determine the sending and quantities. Quantities means Vs and Is. So you have to apply the equation for the long transmission line. So VR is given. Don't forget to divide it by root 3. So IR you can calculate and see how it is getting simplified for lossless line. For lossless line, actually gamma is becoming only J beta. Okay, gamma is becoming only J beta because here you are getting no R is there. So only J beta, that means beta angle 90 degree. So it is getting simplified. If you substitute gamma as J beta in the original equation, this cos A J beta is simply becomes cos beta L. We have discussed earlier. And sin H J beta simply becomes J sin H a sin beta L. Okay, so this becomes simple trigonometrical functions, not hyperbolic functions. So you just substitute the values of this one and length of the line is also given, I think. Length L is you have to substitute. Length is 300 kilometer long, or otherwise you can do the, actually it becomes same, the per kilometer is given. You have to substitute the length of the line. So if you substitute this one, you will get the value as this one. So you calculate these values on your own, okay, and tally with this result. I think you will get the result. So Vs is this one. Okay, line, you have to give the answer in line value, so multiply it by root 3. And next, similarly, you can find out IS also, and it will also get transformed into simple trigonometrical equations for lossless line. So you will get this value. Okay. Now, what are the other questions? One question is you have to find the voltage regulation. So voltage regulation, you know, we have discussed several times. It is actually voltage and no load is Vs by A. Previously, we solved this one, so I'll not discuss. Just simply VRNL will be equal to Vs by A. You know the value of A. You know the value of Vs. What is A actually? A you will get from this equation. This is actually A because you know Vs equal to AVR plus VIR. So this value, the coefficient of this one VR will, you have the value of A. So you can easily find out the voltage regulation. Okay. Now the next problem is they have considered lossy line. See, how do you understand? Because series impedance is given this one. Okay, series impedance means R plus JXL. So some angle is given. It is not 90 degree. That means some value of R is there they have considered. And this is actually Y, shunt admittance. So here the case is not so simple. So gamma will have some value, this alpha in the form of alpha plus J beta. Okay, so beta is this one and alpha is this one. Okay, now what you have to find? Now you can substitute, everything is given here, just substitute the values and find out this one. Find the wavelength and velocity of propagation. Wavelength is dependent on beta. So what is wavelength? It is 2 pi by beta. So find out for beta you can get from here. So find out what is lambda. And velocity of propagation is lambda into f. So the velocity of propagation v you are getting this value 153.5 kilometer per second. Whatever value you get, you have to write that. Okay. So this is very simple. Another problem, I think this is the last problem. Now, what is given here? A three-phase 400 kV 50 Hz transmission line, inductive reactance. XL is given, shunt admittance is given. Again, you don't have any resistance here. Length of the line is given. So, what is the surge impedance? If you know L and C from here, you have to find out what is L. Okay. So, ZC is root over L by C. It is very simple. Next, you have to find propagation constant gamma. What is gamma? Gamma is alpha plus j beta, and this is lossless line. It will be simply j beta because this root over yz it becomes only the imaginary part. So gamma is actually equal to j omega root over LC. Okay, this is actually the propagation constant. So you are having the value of propagation constant as this one. Now remember, if you are asked to find out only the phase constant, that means only beta, you need not write this j. But whenever you are asked to write propagation constant, you must add this value j. Okay. Otherwise, some marks will be deducted. Now, next one is ABCD parameters. ABCD parameters, you know, if you know the equation for the line, these two are actually the equations. This is A, this is B, and this is C, and this is D. Okay, you have to remember this always and substitute these values and find out the value for A, B, C, D. Again, it will transform into simple trigonometry, cosine and sine functions as it is lossless line, and find all the values. Okay, and last question. Two questions, wavelength and SIL. Wavelength you can find, it is V by F. Okay, or 2 pi by beta. So any equation you put and find it out. And what is SIL? Remember, SIL is actually V by I, isn't it? Or not V by I, V by I is the load. It is actually V squared by ZC. It is actually the power. Surge impedance load should be expressed in power, in megawatt or watt. So it is V squared by, just like in purely resistive load, it is V squared by R. So here it is V squared by ZC. ZC you can easily find out root over L by C. And whatever Y3, if we use the phase voltage, you write here 3. And if you convert this one to the from the line value, this is the line value, convert to the phase value. So you simply get VL square by ZC. So any one formula you can use, 3V square by ZC or VL square by ZC. That will give the SIL. For all the three phases, you have to calculate the total SIL. Okay. So up to this, I think it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now these are very important concepts, and one question surely out, maybe 6 out of 16 marks or 12 marks we will get from this part. So we must have clear concept on this value. Now another definition, another two definitions. One is the electrical length, another the tune power length. What is the electrical length of the line? Actually, length of the line is small transmission line generally is 80 up to 80 km, medium transmission line generally up to 250 km. Okay. Now, electrical length of the line is actually the transmission line may be electrically long or short. Electrically short line indicates beta L. Actually, beta is the phase shift per unit length. So, if the L is the total length of the line, what is the phase shift for the whole length of the line from one end to the other? The phase shift will be beta into L. You can easily understand. So, if this phase shift is small, is up to 5 electrical degree, then it will be called a short line. Okay. And if the phase shift is up to say 15 degree approximately, then it is called medium line. Okay. Just as we defined the line, classified the lines in terms of length, 80 kilometer to 50 kilometer, we can also classify in terms of the electrical degree. That means phase shift in the line, phase shift of the traveling waves in the line. So if the phase shift for the whole length of the line is 5 degree, it is called short transmission line. So from here we can find out the length. How? Beta L is actually radian. You transfer this one into degree by multiplying it by 180 degree by pi. So that is equal to 5 degree. So what is length? From here you can calculate 5 pi by 180 into beta. Okay, and beta you can write, it is actually omega by Vp. So 2 pi f by Vp. So if you know 50 hertz, for our system it is 50 hertz. Vp you substitute by 3 into 10 to the power 8. So from here, if you, everything is known to you for over a transmission lines, from here, if you calculate, you will find L is approximately 83 kilometers. So understood why we took the length of the line, short transmission line approximately 80 kilometers. So actually these are similar. 80 kilometer means up to 5 degree electrical length. Similarly, you put this one as 15 degree for for medium transmission lines, you will get it to be approximately 250. So if you get any question from what you understand by electrical length of a line, don't get confused. This is actually the length. Electrical length means it is actually the phase shift in that line. Okay. Now tuned power lines. What are tuned power lines? See, what is the original equation of a line? For, you know, you have seen this type of equation for long transmission line. Actually, it was equal to cos h omega L root over LC, but we have neglected H because you have considered lossless transmission line. Gamma, you have considered only j omega root over LC. So this cos h, it becomes cosine function only. Okay. Similarly, sin h, it becomes sine function only. So the equation for the transmission line is like this. Now, under some specific conditions, it is not what happens if V is equal to this one into VR plus this one into IR. But if we consider that this value within the cosine term omega L root over LC, it takes some value which are multiples of pi. Okay, then what will happen? If this value is such that it is multiple of pi, then what happens? If it is 1, then becomes, it is minus 1. Hello? Hello, can you listen?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So if you take, okay, thank you. So for some values of n, it is actually cos of this value will be 1. For some other values of n, cos of this one will be minus 1 if n is an integer, isn't it? This much you can understand. For some values, this cos will be plus 1. As for some other values of n, this is minus 1. So only two values it can take, plus 1 and minus 1. This one also same. But what about the sine values? Sine values will become 0. Okay, if it is a multiple of pi. So if we by any means this condition arises that omega L root over LC becomes integral multiple of pi, then what happens? The sine part will become 0. So what is Vs? Vs is this one into Vr. Only it is in the coefficient, only Vr will be there. So we can write Vs is actually exactly equal to minus Vr or plus Vr, but we can modify, the magnitude will be equal. Okay. Here I am repeating, for some values of, if this value takes some integral multiple of values of integral multiples of pi, these values are becoming 0 and this is becoming 1 or minus 1. So magnitude of Vs becomes equal to magnitude of Vr. Vs is either becoming Vr or it is becoming minus Vr. Similarly, Is, this value becomes 0, so it is this value into IR. So either Is equal to plus IR or Is equal to minus IR. So magnitude at least are remaining same. So under this condition, the receiving end voltage and current are numerically equal to the corresponding sending end values, so that there is no voltage drop on load. Such a line is called tuned line. So what is tuned line? In tuned lines, the receiving end voltage and current, the magnitudes of receiving end voltage and current exactly same as that of sending end voltage and current. then only it will be called a tuned line. Okay. Now, what is the length of the line for tuning? It will be a small l will be equal to n pi omega root over LC omega is equal to 2 pi f. And we know the value for 1 root c is actually the velocity of the light. Okay. Or we can put it with 3 into 10 to the power 8. Now, if we substitute that value of 1 by root over LC, then pi gets cancelled. And first, if we put n equal to 1, then it becomes, because lambda we know, you have seen lambda equal to 6000 kilometer, and you did not know lambda. You can exactly substitute here the values. Then for n equal to 1, you will get 3000. For n equal to 2, you will get 6000. Like that, it will go on increasing. Okay. So at 3000 kilometer, we can have, if the length of the line is 3000 kilometer, then the receiving end voltage and current will be exactly the same as the sending end voltage and current. If the length of the line is again 6000, receiving end voltage and current will be exactly the same as the sending end voltage and current. And this will go on. Okay, for some integral multiples of this value, it will go on. But normally, we don't have transmission line for this much value. It is not feasible. Okay. It is too long a distance for transmission line from the view and cost and efficiency. Okay. So, for a given line, the length and frequency tuning can be achieved by increasing L or C. So, as these values are not feasible, so for shorter distance of transmission lines, how tuning can be achieved? Tuning can be achieved by either increasing L or increasing C. Okay, by changing these values, tuning is achieved. Okay. So, a method of tuning power lines is presently experimented with, uses series capacitors to cancel the effect of line inductance and shunt inductors to neutralize the line capacitance. A long line is divided into several sections which are individually tuned. Okay, by actually changing L and C. So, this is all about the tuned transmission lines. Okay. Now, will today, up to this, is it clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we will cover another topic today. That is small topic. Actually, today I think I will be able to cover the whole syllabus. Then you will get time to practice problems. And if you find any problem, you can also always contact me. Now, before going to the next part, I always forget because someone asked me one question. What is first? This question, another question someone asked me, 1 minute, capacitance calculation. That means, what is water conductor? Someone asked me, find the resistance per phase per kilometer of water conductor. What water conductor is nothing but it is actually ACSR conductor. Okay, you have seen the ACSR conductor. Center part is actually steel, and the outer conductors is made of aluminum. Okay, so the 6-1 4.22 actually means one. It's the inner part is one conductor made of steel. Outer it has 6 conductors. We have seen the outer conductor. One problem we have solved in transmission lines. 1 minute. Let me find out. For inductance calculation. Just 1 minute. Is the screen visible, line parameters?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, this was the figure. This was the figure. Okay. Inside 1 and outside 6 conductors. Okay. For water conductors actually means this type of conductors. So, it is nothing. Center 1 and outside 6. And the diameter, outside diameter is 4.22. Okay. But in these problems, you need not consider all these values. Only diameter is required. So, from there, you find out. Okay. Now, and water, if you search in the internet, you will get lots of information about the water conductor. As it is not in the syllabus, I will not go into the detail of the water conductors. Now, another question you asked me, that what is the, why it is coming as plus? IC equal to IR sine this one plus I sine this one. This is nothing but actually left hand side and right hand side has been shuffled. See, this is the resultant. I is the resultant of IC and IR. So actually vector sum of IR and IC is actually I. So if we divide it into y-axis component of this one, what is the y-axis component of this one? IC itself, and this one is actually minus IR of this one. So the plus IC minus IR of this one, that is actually equal to I sine of 19.75 degree. Okay. So actually it should be written IC minus IR of sine this one equal to I sine of this one. Someone got confused with this. So I think it will be clear. I don't know whether he is present. Even if he is not present, you please inform him that this is the meaning of this one. I think nothing wrong is there. You also think about this one. Now I will cover another part that is very important. Okay. And it is a completely separate topic. That is interference between power and communication lines. Is the screen visible? Okay. Now, as you can understand from the name, that whenever communication lines, in most of the cases, they run in close proximity to the power lines. So there will be interference of the power lines or then the communication lines. That means there will be electrostatic effect and or electrostatic induction and electromagnetic induction on the communication lines, because they run in parallel and close communication lines run in parallel and close proximity to the power lines, and sometimes they are placed on the same towers. So it is very important to find in details what is the interference between these two lines. Now see, two conditions we'll consider. First, electromagnetic induction, because it distorts due to electromagnetic induction, the current signals in the communication lines get distorted, and due to the electrostatic induction, the voltage of the communication lines are raised to some values. Okay, so this is written here. What is meant by interference? We go through it. Now I will directly go to the derivation or see the effect of electromagnetic induction. So we have considered three-phase lines. This is A, this is B, this is C. These are the power lines, three-phase lines A, B, C. And the communication lines we have considered P and Q. Okay. So we'll find the effect of the current carried by these three power lines on the communication lines. Now see, what is the flux linkage in this communication conductor due to the current carried by all these power lines A, B and C? This you have studied in the first class. The equation will be familiar to you, though you may not remember now, but equation was just like this. Phi p equal to this one. Okay. See, I have this open, so it is actually this equation. This and array. This is the equation. Okay. 1 minute. Actually, this is the equation we are using. Okay. Here n number of conductors were used, and here we have used only 3 conductors. So this is the equation of the flux linkage in conductor, in communication conductor P due to the currents in conductor A. Then we add the effect due to the current in conductor B, and then due to the current in conductor C, and the distances are from conductor A, DAP, then distance from conductor B, DBP, then distance from conductor C, DCP. You need to know all the distances. So this is the equation for the flux linkage in conductor P. Okay. Similarly, the flux linkage in the communication line conductor Q, due to the power lines, you can write like this. Same type of equation, only the distances will change. That will be AQ, BQ and CQ. So what is the net flux linkage in the communication line? If we consider flux linkages are in the same direction, then in this area, if the flux is in this direction, here the flux will be the opposite direction. So the net flux linkage will be phi p minus phi q. Okay. So if we make minus 5p minus 5q, just this one minus this one, we are arriving to this equation. Okay. So this is the net flux linkage in the communication line due to all the three power lines. And the EMF induced is omega psi or 2 pi f psi. So this is the equation for the EMF induced in the communication line due to the currents flowing in the power line. Okay. Now see what happens. There are different conditions when the currents are balanced. Okay, IA, IB, IC are balanced. The net flux linkages are very small. And if the power line is transposed, normally the power lines are regularly transposed, the currents are balanced and the next flux linkage becomes zero. So it is possible to make the net flux linkage zero by transposing the power lines. But when the power lines is not transposed, some EMF is induced in the communication line, even when the currents are balanced. Okay. Now, let us derive. Sometimes you are asked to derive how this flux linkage or the voltage becomes zero if the power lines are transposed. Okay. See, the derivations are shown at the end. See this value. Now, what happens when the power line is transposed? Power line transpose means first A is occupying position X, B is occupying position Y, C is occupying position Z. X, Y, Z is other positions which remains fixed. But the conductors after every 1/3 cycle, they are occupying different position. A in position X, then A in position Y, then A is position Z. You are familiar with this thing. So you have already derived these things in unsymmetrical transmission lines. So for this one, what will be psi 1? Psi 1, if 1 and 2 are the positions, or 1 is the position of the one conductor of transmission line, then what is psi 1? The psi 1 will be this equation. This equation is directly from this one. We have considered only one conductor. Say we have considered the conductor P only. Okay. So for the first half cycle, what is psi 1? Psi 1 will be this one. Then for the not half cycle, 1/3 cycle. For the next 1/3 cycle, what will be psi 1? Just these values will change. Instead of X, it will have Y because A is occupying position Y. And for the last 1/3 cycle, it is just like this. So what will be the net psi? For the whole cycle, it is just this addition of these 3 by 3. So the average will be just like this. Okay, you will arrive to this equation. Now see, if IA, IB, IC are balanced, then of course IA, IB and IC will have this value will be 0. Okay, this is actually psi 1 for communication conductor 1. Similarly, the psi 2 for communication conductor 2, we can already also find out. Instead of 1, you just put 2. What is psi? Psi will be this one, net psi in the communication conductor, this one minus this one. Ultimately, the net flux linkage in the communication conductor, you will have this value. Okay, this A2, B2, C2 actually distances of the 3 power lines from the communication conductor 2, and these values are the distances from the communication conductor 1. Okay, so you are getting this value. So under balanced condition, this becomes 0. So the flux linkage becomes 0. But for unbalanced condition, this is never 0. And for severe fault like single line to ground fault or faults you have not studied, when that is fault, this is highly unbalanced. So psi will have considerable value. So you have to take care of that. Even when this is balanced, but there is harmonics in the line, what will happen? See, for other harmonics, if we add this, we say for second harmonic, IA1 plus IA2 plus IB2 plus IC2, IC2, the harmonics will add up to 0 because they are displaced by 120 degrees. But what about third harmonic? You know, third harmonic have no phase shift. They are all in one direction. So they never add to 0. They become thrice of the value. So for third harmonic, this IA, IB, IC becomes thrice of the value, and the flux linkage increases and the voltage becomes thrice of that frequency. So power line, even under transposed condition, this will have some considerable value in the presence of third harmonic. So power line transposition is ineffective if current is unbalanced or contains harmonics. Okay, so this is a derivation you will can understand from here. Now let us go to the same thing. See here. Now unbalanced this is about balanced condition. And a balanced condition also, if there is harmonics, then it becomes actually presence of harmonics makes it unbalanced. Now the flux linkages and induced EMF can assume high magnitudes. Okay, when there is severe unbalancing due to faults or for some other cases. Okay, now these it is essential to get induced EMF eliminated. Now, what happens? Let me show you another derivation. First derivation, we have considered power lines transformed. We have seen under balanced condition, this is effective. But under unbalanced condition, this is not effective at all because it always has some value. Now, another way is the transposition of telephone lines. Let us see what happens if we transpose the telephone lines. See, this power lines we have kept constant. Okay. And telephone lines, let us consider this. A telephone is actually communication lines. Let us consider this communication line 1 is occupying position X and this communication line 2 is occupying position Y. In the next subcycle, it is just reverse. That means their communication lines are transposed. So what happens? For the first cycle, half cycle, what happens? Phi 1 is, we have directly written from here. Actually, we have directly written from here. Okay. Phi 1 is actually not written from here. We have actually written from here. So phi 1 is actually this value. IA day by dx, IB dby, because this value is actually from the main derivation. We can write main derivation is this one, psi. Okay, of the conductor. Okay, considering both the conductors, this value. So considering both the conductors for position 1, this is the value of this one. Psi 1 means it does not mean that it is the linkage of conductor 1. Actually, it is the linkage of this whole position 1. Total flux linkage of both the conductors for this position 1. Okay. You can write here P or Q, position P or position Q. So this one, next position, it will just get changed. Instead of X, it will come Y. So for this position 2, the total flux linkage is this one. So what is the net flux linkage? Net flux linkage will be the average of these two. Average means add psi 1 and psi 2 divided by 2. So it will have exactly, it will have 0 value because you can see that if whatever appears in the numerator here appears in the denominator. Okay, so by transposition of these communication lines, it is possible to completely eliminate the interference. Okay, even when the power lines are unbalanced, because you see, it does not depend what is the value of AB, IA, IB, and IC. It automatically becomes 0 due to the transposition of the communication lines. So no induced EMF is there even if power line is unbalanced or contain harmonics. Okay, first some values of voltages are there because power line transposition cannot be completely symmetrical. Okay, some unsymmetry is always there. But this is another way. This is the most effective way to eliminate the interference. Okay. So this is how written here, how the interference is can be minimized. Another method is to transpose the communication line. If both power and communication lines are transposed, the induced EMF becomes almost 0. And another way to reduce is increasing the distance between power and communication lines. Okay. Now, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now let us go to the electrostatic induction. Okay, for electrostatic induction, we have considered single conductor. And you know, to consider the effect of the ground, this is modeled by taking the by image conductor. If you consider single power conductor A, actually not, there will be other conductors, but let us consider and find out the voltage due to this conductor. So it will have image conductor A dash, and if its charge is Q, its charge will be minus. You know that. So what is the, let us consider any point at a distance x from this conductor, and let us consider this height from the ground to be h. Okay, h is the height of conductor A from the ground. So what is the distance of the image conductor A dash? It is located at h distance below the ground. So from this conductor A, the distance between A and A dash is twice h, and the distance between this point x, we have considered one point at a distance x from the conductor A. So this distance of this point x from conductor A dash is twice h minus x. Okay. So what is the electric field intensity at this point x? This electric field intensity at this point x due to conductor A is q by 2 pi epsilon x. X is this distance, and due to this one will be, as it is located at this charge is minus q, but as it is located in the opposite side, so minus of minus q means plus q, 2 pi epsilon, and its distance from this x. This is actually twice h minus x. So the flux, the electric field intensity at a point situated at a distance x from conductor A is actually this one due to both this conductor and the image conductor. Now, if VA is the potential of the conductor A with respect to the ground, okay, of conductor A with respect to the ground, you have to integrate this one. It is actually integration of Ex dx. How, from which value to which value will integrate? For conductor A to the ground, first conductor A means you have to consider the distance of the conductor from itself. That means it is considered as R, small r, radius of the conductor. And distance of the conductor from the ground, because we are finding the potential of the conductor with respect to the ground. So here we will have the distance from the ground, that is h. So limit will be smaller to h. So this will be the equation of the voltage. What is VA? V is the potential of the conductor A from with respect to the ground. So if we integrate, we will have this value. Okay. Actually, A is the voltage of the conductor A with respect to the ground. Now next, what we have done, we have considered any conductor P. Okay, let it be the, it can be the communication conductor also. A point, it is located, say, at a distance DAP from the conductor A. So what will happen? What will be the voltage induced in this conductor due to this conductor and the image conductor? That we will find. Okay, we will consider. Let us consider the communication conductor is located at P. Now, so what will happen? PA is actually the potential of point P with respect to the ground due to the charge on conductor A. So what is this? What we are finding out? We are finding the potential of conductor P with respect to the ground due to the charge carrying by conductor A, because charge is only carried by conductor A and A dash. So what is the potential at this point P? So potential will be just like this, dA1 to H. What is A1? A1 is the distance of this one, not A1, I think will be AP. This is AP, distance of that point P from this one, from the current carrying conductor, and as we are calculating with respect to the ground, the distance of the current carrying conductor from the ground, that means H. Okay. So this limit you have to take. So VPA, we are finding this one. So now we'll find VPA with respect to VA, because VA is generally known to us. It is actually the potential of the conductor with respect to the ground. Of each conductor with respect to the ground is generally known to us. So we find the potential at point P with in terms of this VA. So in this place, we substitute the value of Q by all the other values, and we get this. Okay. That means we have just replaced the value Q from this equation. So we are getting this value. So what is this value? It is actually the voltage at any point P due to the charge in conductor P. Okay, so this is the equation of the voltage. So if any if any communication conductor is placed at point P, it will have some voltage of this one. Okay, due to the conductor A. Clear? So you have calculated what is the voltage. This is the voltage. Similarly, for other concept, there are three-phase conductor. There will be phase B, phase C. You can easily find out what is PB will be VP, VC will be VPC will be VC. Then you can add these three to find out what is the net voltage in the conductor, in the communication conductor. Okay. Now you will see some problems. Problems are actually based on these equations only, very simple problems. So you will get some idea. Unless you solve it at home by your own, you won't be able to understand thoroughly. Okay, let us discuss 2 or 3 problems. See, the configuration of the line is this one. This is the power line, ABC, 3-phase power line. And this is the communication line, P and Q. All the distances are given. But you need to calculate the distance of all these conductors from P. Also, you need to calculate the distance of Q from all these 3 conductors. Okay, they have calculated these values. Because you know, whenever you write this equation, what you are given, they have asked to find the magnitude of the voltage induced in the telephone circuit due to electromagnetic induction.
Ma'am, cannot hear you.
Ma'am is audible too clearly. This is your network problem.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Now
No,
can you
ma'am.
hear me? Hello?
You are audible previously also.
Ma'am, you are audible.
Now you can. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. So now, actually, we have used this equation. Simply, we have used electromagnetic induction means we have used this equation. Okay, nothing else. Just phi equal to phi p minus phi q. This equation we have used and found out this one. Okay, because IA, this is IA, IB, IC, you know, under balanced condition, this is 300 angle 0, this is IB, minus 120, IC is this one, and here ln of C, first one you will have in the
Ma'am, there is
numerator.
no sound.
Hello, others can hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yash, there is some problem with your network. Ma'am is
আরে ও
audible.
এমনি শুনতে পাচ্ছে না, ও ম্যামের অবস্থা শুনতে পাচ্ছে না, তো আমাদেরটা কি করে শুনবে? আমি ওকে মেসেজ করে দিচ্ছি।
No, but I don't know. Is it my network problem?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, you are
No,
audible.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Acha. I thought you were telling me. Okay. Then if it is his problem, then you please make him understand, or you can later ask me, I will clarify you. Okay, no problem. So here you just have, in the numerator you will have DAQ, and in the numerator you have AQ, and then in the denominator you have AP. Okay, because AQ by AP, that is only written here. Okay, similarly you just put the values of different distances from that equation. So you find out this psi, and psi will have value 2 pi f epsilon. So the voltage per meter. Remember, everything is calculated in per meter. This is psi is in Weber turn per meter. Okay. Now the next problem. This is voltage induced due to electromagnetic induction, and the same question is asked if there is unbalancing in the problem. Here the current was here the current is 300 ampere. Now, due to fault, the current says single line to ground fault, the current has increased to 2000 ampere. They have asked to find out the electromagnetic induction in phase A only, due to the current in phase A only. Because you know, for single line to ground fault, say the single line to ground fault has occurred in phase A, then it never happens that B and C phases are remain the same. The current remains same. They also actually changes. But here they have asked to find the electromagnetic induction due to the fault current 2000 ampere in phase A. So only phase A you have to consider. It will have angle 0 and you find out epsilon from the same equation, but you have to consider only one phase because you don't know the currents in the other phases. Okay. And so these two are examples of electromagnetic induction. So electrostatic induction for the same problem, I think they have used this first problem to find the electrostatic induction. So electrostatic induction, first you have to find out VA. What is VA? VPA. Actually, they have used this equation. VPA means this equation. They have simply substituted this equation. So you can easily understand VPA, everything is given. The distances you have to calculate, the radius is given, height of the conductor from the ground is given. So yeah, you can calculate. Remember, VA is with respect to the ground. So you have to divide it by √3. So you find VA like this. You similarly, you calculate VPB. While you take VB, you have to take minus 120. So others you substitute. Similarly, you find out VC. Okay, VPC. So lastly, you add these three and you will get this value of the voltage. Okay, so these are very simple problems actually. Okay, and you will not get very variety of problems on this topic. So you must attempt study this topic and attempt any questions which will come from this topic. And the third one, another problem is shown. The last problem is of this configuration. It is same actually. Here the configuration is only different. The first thing you have to find out the individual distances of ABC from this conductor P and individual distances of ABC from this conductor Q. Then just go on substituting in these equations. There is nothing. First they have found out the electromagnetic induction, the voltage induced in the telephone circuit. This is the telephone circuit. This is this one. And then they have used next problem. They have shown the electrostatic effect, similar problem configuration and the same configuration they have used, and electrostatic effect they have just considered, found out VPA, PB, PC, and they have just added to find out the potential of P above the R. Okay, I think these problems are similar. You can easily understand. And reduction effect, reduction effect actually you have already discussed. The transposition of the lines, mainly the communication lines, and some sentences are written here. You go through them. And I think this is the end of your syllabus. If I find anything I don't think anything is remaining, but I will give some. I have just 2 or 3 problems I have jotted here. I will send these on the calculation of inductance. I told you in the last class I will find some problems. You can easily understand. This problem is very simple. Now, some of you get confused. Suppose 3 conductors are given. 3 conductors does not necessarily mean they are of 3 phase. Okay, this is a 3-phase conductor. So for the first problem, it is given for 3-phase double circuit transmission line. Then it is okay. A, B, C are different 3 phases. This constitutes one circuit. This A dash, B dash, C dash constitute another circuit. So when you find the mutual distance, you find out from it is just AB. AB means just from one phase to other. And when you find the self distances, you consider A dash and A dash T. Okay. So these things should be very clear to you. Now, second problem, you see, this problem is solved. I think I have solved these problems earlier also. The second problem is important. What is written? It is single phase transmission line. Is composed of 2 circuits are there. Okay. One circuit of a single phase transmission line is composed of 3 wires. Another is composed of 2 wires of different radius also. Okay, see the figure is shown like this. This is one circuit, but it is a single phase line. This is the other circuit. So this is the go wire and this is the return wire of single phase circuit. So when you find the GMD actually geometrical mean distance, that means mutual distance, you find out from this circuit to this circuit. Remember, and when you find out self GMD or GMR, you actually consider the conductors of the same circuit. Clear? See, GMD, they have found out GAD, GAE, then GBD, GBE, GCD is GCE. This is the mutual GMD. Okay, because this is a single phase circuit. On self GMD, how they have found out? First, conductor A. Okay, see, it is given written here. GMD, they have found out from here. This is the main equation. And self GMD for side X. For you have two GMDs. For this circuit, one self GMD or GMR. This is another for DM. Actually, the mutual GMD we call DM. Self GMD we call DS. So when we find DS, will consider for this circuit will have one value. This is DAA, DAB, DAC. Then DBB, DBA, DBC. Then we take DCC, DCA, DBC. Okay, this is an root over of that one. So this constitute DS of side X. So for side X, you will take all, you will have 3 conductors, so total 9 terms will come. And remember, R dash value will be the R of conductor X only. Okay, because this side conductor has one radius and this side conductor has another radius. So for calculating DS of this side, you will calculate D of DD, then DE, then DEE, DED. Okay, this is shown here. DSB for DS for side X, this is shown here. Okay, here for R dash, you take the radius of that side only. Okay, so now what will have? You will have that DS, you will have the LX value, this ln dm by dx. Actually, equation is 2 into the minus 7 ln dm by dx. Dm is same for side X and side Y because they are mutual. But DS value will be different. For side X, you will have one value, side Y, you will have another value. So, and total inductors will be Lx plus Ly. You will have 2 different values. You add these 2 and find out the total inductance. Because in the question, it is asked to find out the inductance of the complete line. Okay, so you find out Lx and Ly separately and then find out the total inductance. Okay, if you have understood this problem, another problem is shown. Exactly similar concept. You also solve this one. See, here it is shown 3 conductors on this side, 2 conductors on this side. They are also unsymmetrically placed, but the concept is same. First, mutual distance from this circuit to this circuit. Okay, 1, 1 dash, 1, 2 dash, 2, 1 dash, 2, 2 dash, 3, 1 dash, 3, 2 dash. This gives you the mutual distance dm, which remains same for both the cases. Then they have found out ds for circuit X, and then they have found dy for this circuit Y separately. So then they have found Lx and Ly separately. For Lx, this is same, but this one is different. For Ly, this is same, but this one is different. So using the same equation, you find out Lx and Ly, and you tally with these results. Okay. So you practice. I will send all these 3 slides today. So you practice problems from book and study the theory from book also. I think this is we have whatever you have discussed, you have understood, and if you find any problem, I will not take any more classes, but if required, if you need any clarification, then contact me, I can take. And if you find any problem, you can also contact me personally, and if you want any further class, you should contact us here and we will arrange the class. Okay, so that's
Yes,
all.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. So if you want, I will take more classes, but you have to contact me. The CS should contact. Okay. Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.